welcome to a very neurotic oil painting process video. It's like my 4th take, so let's go. This is not like a tutorial, more like just taking you through my whole process and my routines and stuff like that. So the first thing I do is that I decide my intention with the painting. So what do I want to do? Do I want to do something super meaningful and super try hard, or do I just want to practice a certain skills? Then I'll start blocking out times in my week that I'll have time to dedicate to the painting. And also I need to coordinate, because like before I used to be full-time at the ED clinic. I'd have all of my paints there. And if I'm going on a trip, should I bring my oil paint, stuff like that. So all of that planning stuff I like to do ahead of time, so I can focus my mental energy on getting the painting right once I start. Then I'll edit my reference photo. This could mean cropping, it could mean combining 2 different reference pictures in PixArt. It really just depends on what I want to do. Then I'll find like a really long YouTube video or podcast, and I'll sit down and prep my canvas. Usually I use gesso and a little bit of acrylics. I never use a white background because this can ruin the color mixing. If you mix a color on pure white, your lighter colors will look darker than they actually are. I mix these together, the burnt umber and the ultramarine blue, to do a quick sketch for the painting. Materials I use for the actual oil painting: Winsor Newton oils, this Van Gogh brand. I don't think it's the real Van Gogh who made these, but his name is on the tube. Then I have Winsor Newton liquid. Ooh. Then I have some like really cheap brushes. The reason they last so long is because I take good care of them. I'm gonna go through that a little bit more at the end. Palette knife, which I mix almost all my colors with. If you mix oil colors with your brush, then the paint is going to get stuck inside the bristles and it's going to dry and it's going to ruin your brush basically. So mix using a palette knife as much as possible. And then I have linseed oil. I keep it in jars because overnight the linseed oil and the paint will separate, so you can actually reuse the oil. You can't throw it out like in the sink. You need to throw it out at hazardous household waste or toxic household waste, whatever it's called in English. Bad for the environment to just throw it out. Linseed oil is toxic. The linseed oil I use basically to clean my brush as I go along. I'll use like a little bit of paper, like a paper towel, to wipe off my brush as I clean it as I'm painting. Next thing I do is I do a really basic block-in. This is arguably one of the most important parts of the process, where you're able to really see if the composition is like gonna work. Like usually I can already tell if the painting is gonna suck or be really good. I focus a little bit more on making a good, clear composition and doing all the upfront planning, and then the rest of the painting kind of clicks into place and follows. Now after the block-in, I usually like go to bed, take a break, at least an extended break. I want to let that layer dry a little bit. If I've used a lot of liquid, then it'll dry quite quickly, at least overnight, because the next step is detail work, and in order to do this I need to be fully rested and have a clear mind. Step 3, detail work. This is the most tedious process. It takes the most time. Recently something I've been doing is taking more frequent breaks, like maybe every 40 minutes or so, where I will go for a walk, run an errand, or like simply look at something else important that needs my time. The reason I decided to do this was because I noticed that I would get mentally fatigued And instead of taking a break, I would just push through. I would hear myself in my brain go, oh, whatever, I don't really care how it turns out. Like, I would sit for 4 hours straight without drinking or eating anything, and I would tell myself that I was in flow state, and maybe I was, but I wasn't producing very good paintings. And I realized that when I'm doing detail work, I want to be focused, I want to be sharp, and I want to be mindful of every stroke. And in order to be mindful of every little blob of paint I put on the canvas, I can't be mentally fatigued. I often take pictures of my painting and then reverse the picture in my phone so that I can see it from a mirrored perspective. That helps. Stepping away from your painting every now and then helps. Looking at it from different angles. Sometimes I'll watch somebody else's tutorial, like Andrew Tischler, I love him. I'll watch his tutorial just to be like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like to really know what you're doing. Another art form is knowing when to stop with your painting. Knowing when enough, you gotta know when enough is enough or something. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I've built these routines up over the past years in accordance with my lifestyle, the time I've had to work with, and what I've learned from better artists, and what has historically motivated me. So this exact process may not work for you, and that's okay. I still think there's a lot of value in analysing the work habits of people who are currently doing what we want to do. Like, that's sort of the point of social media, is pulling down the curtain of the artistic process. And additionally, watching tutorials or art vlogs kind of becomes identity consumption feedback loop. Like, it's a way to fantasize about the life we want, the skill level we want, and a way to demystify a line of work that can sometimes be a little bit messy and where there is a perceived lack of established norm or structure. Final stage. I do a basic cleanup at the end of every day's painting session because, like I said, you can save a lot of money on materials if you take care of them well. I also live in a small space with no ventilation, and linseed oil and oil paintings can be hazardous to your health. The last thing I do after weeks of completion, I'll paint the edges. So, like you can see on this one, I've painted the edges blue. Sometimes I will also go back and change something on the painting if I've grown dissatisfied with it over time. But this happens very rarely because I'm often the kind of person when it comes to art that would rather do many paintings than fewer really good paintings, because I felt that otherwise my perfectionism will get the best of me and I just will never finish. I'll never get anything done. And I can learn more from a painting that didn't turn out perfect but that I finished than I can do with working on the same painting for weeks and weeks and weeks. I think the reason I can be so productive and do so much work and improve so quickly is because I am not attached to any specific painting. I don't really want to be a tutorial channel, but if you have any specific questions, just drop them in the comment section below. And I also always answer my DMs. I love giving specific critiques on people's paintings and stuff like that, or if you have any specific questions that you comment on my videos, I'll always reply. Because I love giving tips, I do, but I don't want to be a tutorial channel. I want to do like more interesting videos. I don't know. I feel like there are so many tutorial channels out there who are doing it better than me because they're better at painting than I am. I'm getting really hyper. Okay. Thank you for watching.